This week's assignment is replicating a PSD designed website and creating it all in your code without having access to any of the source code. So first let's start with what a PSD is. So a PSD is actually the file extension for a Photoshop file. So normally what happens is you will have a designer design a website in Photoshop, and then they'll send it over to the developer, maybe with some of the images attached, but certainly no source code. So you're not able just to see exactly what is written there, what CSS rules you need. You have to do it all from scratch. We're starting this on week 3 because it is such a critical skill to have. In fact, a lot of jobs actually require this as part of the interview process. So definitely keep that in mind. So let's go ahead and find some PSD websites to replicate. Let's do PSD website. We'll click on images and a ton will pop up. There are so many here. It's actually really hard to choose. One thing we definitely want to keep in mind when we're choosing is we want to find a clean design. So maybe we could even add in clean design. All right, so what is a clean design? Clean design is normally something that is really simple and is really clear. When I say clear, I mean when you're hired by a company, your whole purpose is to make them more money, typically. Most companies, after all, are going to try to make more money. So normally that's what you're hired to do. So a clean design is simple and points to exactly what you want them to do when they get to the site. So let me give you 2 examples. First one is our site. I just go to codifyacademy.com and this flies in. We have one thing we really want them to do, and we say it twice on the page before they even scroll down. We have the Apply Now button and the Apply Now form. So we clearly want somebody to send us some information so we can start talking to them and see if they're right for the class. Let me give you another example. Really nice, simple, clean design that we're trying to go for. Another example of clean design would be for headsets.com. Again, there's a lot of white space here. And right at the top, it's really clear. They do such a good job of just displaying exactly what they want you to do. So you'll notice that everything on the page is blue and white with the exception of the Try It Today button. It actually stands out. Your eye is naturally drawn to it. These guys are also really clever. They've also done a few other tricks. So normally what people do is maybe they'll point an arrow to that button or something to drag your attention. They've actually done a lot more subtle technique, which is this gentleman right here is actually looking at this button. The headset he's wearing actually works as an arrow as well. So does hers. So it's actually drawing the eye right to that button. Let's take a quick look at what the opposite of clean design is. I'm just going to go to, let's say, yahoo.com. All right, so yahoo.com has a lot going on, right? They have these trending now, probably on Twitter or something like that. They have all of these images here with these scroll bars. All this stuff is going on, all of these news stories. Right, so it's kind of functioning as a news site. It seems like they want to be your go-to portal for everything, right? They have all this stuff here, health, style, beauty, politics. But really what happens is it's too daunting. There's too much going on. It's really hard to make a choice and decide what to do. Let me show you a bit of a competitor with that, at least as far as the news portion goes. You have Vice, which has a main story on top, and as you scroll down, it's just 3 stories at a time. The most I can see is 3.5. So again, this is a good example of clean design. Really simple, and it gets right to the point of what people want to see. They're coming to this site for news, and that's exactly what you're going to show them here with this. So when you're trying to find a really clean PSD, you want to look for a few things. Ideally, a lot of white space. Also a really clear call to action. So CTA, or call to action. So if we go back to our site, ours is Apply Now. Headsets.com is Try It Today. I do not know what Yahoo's is. There really is no call to action. It might be this main story. This red is also kind of sticking out, the live concert, so I'm not really sure. They kind of distract me a bit with that. And Vice, they have one big, huge main story that they want you to read right now. So when you're trying to find a PSD, ideally you could find one that has a really good call to action as well. So let's just open this one up. Let's click into this one and just see. So this one looks like it has a pretty clean design as well. So it looks like they're asking for email and some other information, and then you get a quote right now. So that's also a good, clear call to action. You'll notice here they have the orange background with the turquoise buttons. Again, blue is the opposite of orange, so they try to work that in so it stands out a lot. So this would be a good example of a site that would be good to replicate. A few other ones. This one looks pretty clean. So they have the learn more. Doesn't stand out too much, but again, this site looks really clean, a lot of white space. Definitely one I would recommend replicating. When you're ready to start replicating, what I want you to first do is paper prototype it out. Right, so take out a pen and a paper and just start drawing out all of the elements on the page, writing in what you think it is. It's a nav tag, or it's a div tag, or it's an IMG, or something like that. Write it all out. It'll be really helpful when you actually have to go and encode this, because with these projects, you can't just right-click and do view source code. It's just not going to pop up. So you actually have to go one at a time. Additionally, in previous projects, you might have just been writing all the HTML at one time and then following it up with all the CSS. That isn't going to work as well here. You definitely want to go section by section. So start with the nav, then do this section, then this section, then this section, then the final section. So start with the HTML of the nav, then the CSS of the nav. The HTML of this first section, then the CSS of this first section. And just keep going like that over and over again until the site looks right. The last thing I want to touch on, guys, is the book called Don't Make Me Think Revisited. Definitely get the revisited one. The other one's just going to have really old examples. Really outdated. You know, web design gets really outdated really quickly. When you click in here, they just have a lot of really great examples of how to build a really good website, all starting with don't make the person think, right? So have one really clear call to action. You know, don't add too many words. Don't add too many distracting images. Really be careful with your color and how many fonts you add in there. Definitely check this book out if you're interested in design. Even if you're not interested in design, you probably should check it out. It just has some really great tools and helped me understand design a lot better.